Students, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to discuss how to convert the decimals to p by q form or fraction form. There are two types of decimals. One is terminating decimals, the other is non-terminating repeating decimals. Okay, first we will discuss about terminating decimals. Terminating decimal means, for example, if you take 5.23, after the decimal point, we have limited number of decimal places. Here two decimal places, maybe 3, maybe 10, maybe 100, fixed number of decimal places. They are called a terminating decimal. How do we change this into p by q form? Without decimal, you write this number 523 divided by how many decimal places? After the decimal, how many places? 2 places. Then you start with 1, always start with 1. If 2 decimal places, put 2 zeros. And if reduction is possible, some common factors are there, you can reduce it to simplest form. This is p by q form, where p is an integer, q is also, p is 523, it's an integer, q 100, it's an integer. So this is a rational expression or rational number. This is a rational number. So we can say every terminating decimal is a rational number. Next, if it is starting with 0, 0.025, then it has also, after the point, it has fixed number of decimal places, so it is terminating decimal. So we can write, without decimal, you write this whole number, full number, 0025 by how many decimal places? After the point, how many decimal places? 3 places. So you have to start with 1 and 3 zeros. Why 3 zeros? 3 decimal places, 3 zeros. In the numerator, we started with 0, 0. It is not required. Here you can write just 25. Here also it is in p by q form. And if you want, you can reduce it. By 25, we can cancel out both. 25, 1 is 25, 25 4s are 100 and a 0, 40. So the simplest form is 1 by 40. This is also p, here numerator is an integer, denominator is an integer, so it is a rational number. So every terminating decimal can be written as a rational number form or p by q form. Suppose it is 5.03. How do we write? How many decimal places? 2 decimal places, so we can write 503. Without decimal you write. In the denominator, start with 1. How many decimal places? After the decimal, how many places? 2 places, so 2 zeros. Don't neglect this 0 because that 0 comes in between two valuable digits like 5 and 3. Here also it is a p by q form, it's a rational number. Okay, I hope you understood this, how to convert terminating to p by q form. Next type is type 2, it is non-terminating repeating or repeating decimals. How we can change? For example, if it is written 0.999 dot 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 dot, how do we change to p by q form? So it is never ending, so it is called non-terminating, it is not stopping but repeating. Which digit is repeating? 9. 9 is repeated. In this repeating group, how many digits are repeating? 9, the digit 9 is repeating, but only one digit is repeating. So you have to write, starting with the this 0.9. Without decimal you have to write. Only one time you have to write that repeating group. And in the denominator, if one repeating group or one digit is repeated, so you have to write 9. Okay, this is 9 by 9. Another example we can take 0.8585, suppose it is like this. It is going on like this, it is not ending. So how many digits are repeated here? A group of 2 digits are repeated. So you have to write one group without decimal, starting, if it is starting with 0, you don't have to write 85 by How many digits are repeated? Two digits are repeated, so you have to write two nines. Two nines here. If the question is like this, 0.826 like this. How many digits are repeated? It is not stopping, it is going on like this. Three digits are repeated. If three digits are repeated, you have to write three nines in the denominator and the repeating group in the numerator 826. And if 0 is in the beginning, you don't have to write it. Okay? If 0 is in the beginning, we have to do like this. If it is 1.826826 like this. Here also how many digits after the decimal are repeated? Here 3. If it is 3, you have to write 3 nines in the denominator. And the repeated group and whatever is before the decimal, that you have to write first without decimal minus the number before decimal 1. It is 1825 by 999. Okay, 10.9898 dot. So how many digits after the decimal point are repeating? That is 9898. That means a group of two digits are repeating. If a group of two digits are repeating, two nines you have to write in the denominator. And you have to write whatever is before the denominator, that also you have to write. And the repeating group you have to write 98. And subtract what is before the decimal 10. 1088 by 99. Okay, let's do one more. 3.985985 like this. How many digits are repeating? A group of 3 are repeating, so you have to write 3 nines in the denominator. Then, including this pre-decimal digit or number and the first group of repeating digit, you have to write minus what is before the decimal, that you have to subtract 3982 by 999. Okay. If a question is like this, here is a problem. After the decimal, 8 is not repeated, 93 or 9393 group is repeated. So what we have to do first, do the same what we explained earlier. How many digits are repeated? That you have to write. 2 digits, that means 29. And the next part is, after the decimal, how many digits are not repeating? One digit is not repeating. Whichever is not repeating, for that, if one digit is not repeated, 10 you have to write here. You have to take only those which comes after the decimal. Don't count which is before the decimal. And then you have to start from the very beginning digit. If it is 0 in the beginning, don't write. From 5 to the first group, you have to write without decimal. 5893 minus what is before this group? It is 58 without decimal, you have to subtract. Then you write it is 5, then 8 minus 5 is 3, 5835 by 990. Okay, let's do one more example. If it is 0.26767 like this, how many digits are repeating? 2 is not repeated because you cannot see 2 in the further stages. 2 is not repeated, so 1 digit is not repeated. How many digits are repeated? 2 are repeated. If 2 digits, 62, 67, 67, 2 digits are repeated, so you have to write 2 nines down. And how many digits after decimal is not repeated? 1 digit, for that you have to put 10. Then write up to the first repeating group without decimal you have to write, that is 0, 2, 6, 7. 0 we won't start with, and then minus what is before the first group. What is before the first group? It is 0, 2. Don't write decimal, without decimal you have to write. It is 2. 0, 2 means 2 only. 265 by 990. Okay, this way we can do it. If this is the question, how many digits are repeated? Only 7, 7 are repeated. So one digit is repeated. So since one digit only repeated, so we have to write 1 9 in the denominator. How many digits are repeated? That many nines. And after the decimal, how many digits are not repeated? Here two digits are not repeated. That many zeros you have to put. As we were doing in the terminating decimal, the same method. Then you have to write up to the first repeating group. What is the first repeating group? First 7. Without decimal you have to write 3, 5, 2, 7. Minus. Excluding this 7, what is before? 352. Without decimal you have to write. And write whatever it is, the difference you can write 2 minus 7 minus 2, it is 5, and 12 minus 5, it is 7, 4 minus 3, it is 1, 3175 by 900. You can reduce it by cancelling by 5 and go on. So these non-terminating repeating decimals can also be written as in P by Q. They are also rationals. Hope you got it. This is a very good trick to write any decimal in P by Q form. Okay.